Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things rugby union. And once again, I'm joined in studio by my good friend, Pity Weepu. Pity.
Morena.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is. Hey, thanks for being on time.
I've been
Not
good
on
lately.
Not on time. Yeah.
Good lately.
No, not on
Lately.
time. Anyway, let's head up. And we've got a couple of guests waiting to jump on in here. First of all, Steve Devine. Steve, how you going up there, mate?
Morning, boys. You two sounded like a TMO and a referee then, arguing.
Yeah, at least one of us is right, though. Man.
Yeah, well, okay. Who's got the whistle? But that's what I want to know.
And speaking of TMOs, we've got our good friend Ben Searle of Searle Sport. Welcome back, bro.
Yeah, cheers. The ultimate insult. Really appreciate that, Paulie. I was going to say Dumb and Dumber are back together for another week, but that's the TMO and the ref anyway, so Stevie summed it up perfectly.
Well, we're off and flying this week's episode, and we'll start off with a question. And this is something that's happened over the weekend, not really sport-related, although it was in a huge stadium. Kiss cam. Should we have a kiss cam at all major rugby games, at least at internationals? We'll throw to you first, Surly.
Oh, it's great crowd entertainment, isn't it? Some of them are quite awkward. Like if they catch like a brother and sister or something there, and they assume that they're married, then it can get a little bit weird. But I reckon it's good entertainment. That and the Pukana cam at the Warriors always goes off, so the crowd loves getting involved with stuff like that. And that Coldplay one was elite. If the bro had just rolled with it, if they hadn't reacted like that, they would have 100% got away with it. But it was just their reactions that they freaked out too much. It was obviously their first rodeo, but yeah, geez, that's troubling, isn't it? Head of HR, and you're up to those type of antics. No good.
I'm not so sure it was their first rodeo, eh?
When she hit the deck like that, I was like, oh no, what have you done?
Drop it like it's hard. Drop it like it's hard. But Surly's right. If they were just played along with it, no one would be any the wiser.
Yeah.
It would not have raised an eyebrow anywhere. So, yeah, Steve, you keen on games?
Yeah, I'm all for it, eh? It's great entertainment. And, what joy has it provided to the world over the last 3 or 4 days? Two people getting caught out like that. Yeah, great joy, great entertainment to the entire social media platform over the entire planet. So I'm all for it.
Pity?
Yeah, I'm for it. I've seen some in the NBA and all that. Like Shirley said, there's been a guy he was prepared. Had a bloody piece of paper pulled out of his pocket. That's my sister. It's great entertainment. I think the Hurricanes have had the Lion King, where they've actually, if you've got a baby or people, they try and hold their kids up at the rugby.
Oh, yeah.
At the rugby, or they've tried to get a few mates that try and hoist a few.
That's dangerous.
That would be at a Wellington Lions game. Was it at a Hurricanes?
No, I think I seen it at the Hurricanes game.
Oh.
Trying to be creative, I guess.
Yeah, well, next thing they'll be doing like a Titanic one, I guess, where, know.
They did that at the...
Did they?
At the Coldplay.
That's the ship going down, so the Wallabies are probably a good chance of doing that this weekend.
I'm glad we've got you aboard this week, Steve. I'm sure you'll have some very, very good insights into what the Wallabies must do to turn the ship around very, very quickly. But before we get to that, let's look at the big game that happened over here, the third test between the All Blacks and the French. And look, there were wholesale changes made by Razor, and I'm glad he did, giving a whole heap of players the opportunity to put the black jersey on, trying out new combinations, seeing exactly where everyone is. But Steve, if you look back on that game, were you happy with how the sort of, I guess the result in the end was good, but were you happy with how the sort of game unfolded?
Yeah, I think the result certainly made everyone feel a bit better about it, but it wasn't a great performance from me. You know, they were. I was actually at the game. You know, the crowd they were pretty quiet the first 30 minutes. It was sort of all the French. Those combinations. I guess it really just looked like some of those boys hadn't played rugby for a while. Anton Leonard Brown is probably 6, maybe 2 months out of the game. They just looked like they hadn't played for a while, and that was the case. They found their groove. At no stage did I think that they were in trouble. They found their groove, and I was really surprised. The French defensively were way different. I mean, their fullback was the last man of defence, and he was 10 meters behind the ruck, and there was a lot of space. And I just think it probably took the boys a little bit of time to understand that and work that out. And I was sitting there just saying, why don't they kick the ball to space? There was acres of territory in behind them, and yeah, it was a weird setup, and it took us a while to get our head around it. So they just looked like boys that hadn't played rugby for a while, and they found their groove and got the job done.
Shirley, it was a wee bit of a disjointed effort by the All Blacks. I sort of agree with Steve. At no stage was I concerned that the All Blacks were going to lose the Test match, but once again, they got off to a slow-ish start, or was it the fact that the French got off to a fast start?
Probably a bit of both, but like you guys touched on, I think when you make that many changes and guys that haven't played in a while, it's always going to look a bit patchy. Then you get changes thrown in the warm-up, like Luke Jacobson going down. They certainly faced a bit of adversity there. I think the result was pleasing in terms of they found a way to get out of trouble and win. Some big performances from some guys off the bench certainly helped that, but yeah, it was a patchy performance, that's for sure. And if we'd lost, I'm sure the narrative would have been completely different. But they found a way to win 3-0 against the French. You don't look too much into it. You just take that win, I guess, and move on from here, expecting that all those guys will be better for the hit out. I was really impressed with Ruben Love, someone who probably hadn't played in 6 to 8 weeks. For me, he looked like the best of those guys that hadn't played footy in a while. Just everything he did with intent, and I thought he really owned that stage and put his hand up to play more minutes, whether that's at 15 and they put Will Jordan on the wing, or whether that's off the bench as a 10 option either, because I thought D-Mac struggled a bit. But yeah, I'm sure we'll touch more on all of this shortly.
Pity if we look at that game, and Surly just pointed out, Ruben Love had a very, very good match for someone who hasn't played footy in a wee while. If you look at across the board, were you happy with how some of the those, I guess, newer players performed?
Yeah, well, definitely. Especially Rubes, obviously he's been out for a bit and then only had one opportunity after coming back from injury with the Canes. So for him to get that opportunity to get a chance to start, I thought, yeah, he played pretty well. And then obviously Duplessis getting his opportunity to start. Like that's actually pretty. It's not tough for those boys to transition into that starting role. I think during the week they practice really well. Everyone understands, just in case something happens, like the scenario of Luke Jacobson, the boys are ready to go. So for them not to panic about it was pretty good. Just nice, sort of cool, calm, and collective, and everyone just slotted into their role within the structure and within the team environment, which is good. I mean, most people might have talked about, what do they do after that? But in camp, everyone has to understand the structure, the game plan, because you just never know what might happen on game day, that someone might pull up. And I thought that Duplessis and then Papali'i coming in, I thought they'd done a pretty good job under the circumstances to be sure that they were prepped and ready to go.
Steve, did that ever happen to you where you were called in last minute to sort of fill in somewhere, because if not at All Black level, at provincial level or Super Rugby level?
No, not so much for me. As a halfback, you sort of back in the day, most teams only carried two with a third of one in the wider training group. So you knew you were going to be one of the two most of the time. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, sometimes I think it can be a bit of a blessing because you don't bury yourself in the burden and the pressure of starting all week. You get to just before kickoff and someone goes down and then you're there. You don't have all those mind games to play during the week. You're on the field and you're into it. So um, yeah, obviously there was a few little combination things that probably didn't quite go to plan, but I think they adjusted quite well and got on with it. And certainly post match, they didn't make a point of it being a problem.
Shirley, you look back on it, and if we look back across the 3-test series, did you see some improvement through the All Blacks, or is it hard to gauge that with so many changes taking place personnel-wise in that third test?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part with that third test, because the second test I thought we looked great, and then so many changes, you'd expect us to continue to build, but the sheer amount of wholesale changes and giving everyone a run, which is what Razor said he would do. He said he'd give everyone in the squad a run throughout that series, and he did that. So it makes it hard to judge. The thing for me that I like the most, though, is that we played a pretty similar style of rugby in all three. I thought we didn't panic on the weekend in terms of try change the way we completely played. We still looked to move the football and play an exciting brand of rugby. And I think now we need to stick to that blueprint. And I think this team is certainly going to do that. They've identified the way they want to play, and they're sticking to that. There wasn't that much panic in that team. And when you got guys like Geordie Barrett to come off the bench and the impact that he brought, you can see why they don't panic. But yeah, overall pretty pleased. 3-0. You can't read into it too much.
Pity, the halfback play in particular over the 3 tests. You happy with how Roygaard went and then how things turned out in the third test?
Yeah, well, obviously Cam's our number one, but Cortez is doing a pretty good job when he gets his opportunities as well. And then we obviously got a chance to see Hotham have a crack as well, which is good. So getting those boys opportunities, and they understand the standard that they need to be at, or the level they need to be at. And like if you're, I guess in that starting role, you want to be trying to do everything possible to impress those coaches to give you that opportunity to start. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with the way that those the halves have played throughout the series.
Steve, halfback seems to be a position where we've got a fair amount of depth. Obviously, the 3 that were part of this series, and there are a number of halfbacks who are just waiting in behind for something to happen.
Yeah, we're certainly blessed at the moment with the number of nines we have. Hotham did go down sort of towards the last play of the game. He got tackled awkwardly, and he stayed on the ground for quite a long time post the final whistle. So I sort of thought it might have been a knee or an ankle, maybe more of an ankle injury it looked like. So he looked like he was in quite a bit of pain as well. So I think that there may be a little injury there. I'm not sure when the next squad is named going forward, but it's probably a couple of weeks. So I'm not sure how his eligibility will be for that on fitness grounds. So, but we've got 2 very, very, very strong nines. If Hotham, who's also very strong, drops out at there's plenty of others. So it's probably the one position we're pretty blessed with at the moment. I wish we could be as blessed in the number 6 jumper as we are with nines, but I guess that's part of the process, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think there are a couple of positions where we may not have the depth that we would really like at the moment, but we can touch on that a wee bit later. So overall, Surly, if you look at the 3-match series, what score out of 10 do you give the All Blacks, seen as, if you take into account this wasn't the strongest French team? I'm not saying it was a weak French team, but it wasn't their strongest French team. What mark out of 10 do you give the All Blacks for the series?
Geez, these always catch me out. I hate going first too, because quite often you can just follow everyone else in and be less controversial. But I'll go with a 7. I think there was promising signs in there, but they're obviously it's the first 3 tests, and the All Blacks historically always start a bit slow, build combinations, and go from there. But I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Some individuals were massive. There's still some areas we need to work on, and this game plan has me excited. So I'm keen to see how we build from here.
Pity, out of 10?
I was going to go around 6.5, 7. I still think their attack probably needs a bit more work. I feel like we're sort of falling. If we get where you look at South Africa, we're going up against South Africa, Argentina, big bodies in front of you. So I thought maybe this would be the best opportunity for them to actually utilize the skill set of some of our boys and try and move the ball a bit more. I thought on the weekend they were limited to what they were trying to achieve. Played a little bit into the hands of the French, but we're just lucky that individuals read some good pictures to allow us to stay in the game a bit more. And I guess, like Surly said, Geordie coming on and the impact that he brought, can sort of help drive the type of attack that we want to be utilising.
Steve, your mark?
Yeah, I was probably leaning towards a 7. We used to say that if everyone on the field performed at a 7 out of 10, you're probably going to win the match. So, we won the matches, and that's important for Razor. But it wasn't they weren't great. I was happy with the improvement made at the breakdown. I thought through the whole series we hung onto the ball better. Seemed that last year we turned a lot of pill over at ruck time. So I think we made some big improvements at the breakdown. I'm starting to see the backline attack, not just run into contact. I'm actually seeing them trying to get the ball to space and use that second man play pretty well now. The kicking game in behind them, was pretty good. Probably not so good in the third game, but has been pretty good. I do see improvements, and I think they're building nicely. I'm looking forward to 2 tests away against Argie. I mean that they will be brutal matches. Argie's at home. They've beat the Lions. 4 weeks ago. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be a big 2 tests over in Argentina, and then we're back in New Zealand for a big 2 against Africa. So we got some serious rugby coming up, and we're going to need the whole squad. And for me, probably centre is a problem at the moment, and definitely number 6. But other than that, I think we're looking pretty good.
Okay, let's look individually now and give me your top 3 players from the 3 test series. And I'm talking about your top 3 All Blacks. Give me your number 3, Surly. Who's number 3 from that series?
Oh, geez, I had about 7 names down here. I was going to caveat the shit out of it. But hey, we will go. I'll go with Tupou Vaa'i, even though he didn't play that last game. And everyone's talking about the 6, but I thought for a fill-in 6, he did really well there. And I was pleased with how he was playing. I thought he carried over that Super Rugby form that he showed. He was massive for the Chiefs this year. And his skill set, his physicality, he's just a heck of a player that's continuing to develop. And he's turning into a real leader too. So despite not playing the 3rd game, I'll chuck him at 3.
Pity, your number 3?
Leo Willie. I thought he was pretty good. He didn't obviously play the last game, but I thought his contribution in the first 2 tests was huge. So I'd probably him for number 3.
Nice. Steve?
Yeah, I had Vi with Roygaard. I just think the way Roygaard has those first 2 matches, he's cemented his place in the number 9 jumper. And there was a few questions with the Chiefs playing so well early in the year that maybe that might not be the case. But I think he is number 1 pick every day of the week, and these first 2 matches were very, very strong.
Yep, I've got Cam Roygaard as my number 3 as well. I love the way that he takes the ball to the line. He almost looks like a rugby league halfback at times, taking the ball to the line and either probing through the gap or putting the player outside or inside into a gap. He just and his delivery from the scrum base is very, very good as well. I thought he was superb over those first two tests. So Roygaard's my number 3. Number 2 for Pity.
Bodie. I've gone with Bodie. I thought those first two tests, the way that he drove the team around, his attack ability, and he's actually not too bad on defence. Actually, I know most 10s in the game, defence is probably one of their worst facet, but for him, he's pretty solid. And I thought, those first two tests with him in the saddle, done a pretty good job.
Steve, your number 2?
Will Jordan. I just think he has to be on the field, full stop. Whether it's fullback or wing, he has to be on the field.
Yeah, I tell you what, in terms of try scoring, he is the punter's friend. And he's not a friend of the TAB. I can tell you, he costs us a packet every single time he takes the field.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Surly, your number 2?
Yeah, I had Will Jordan as well. And again, this question pops up around where he plays and where it's best for the team, because I think wing is probably a spot as well where we need to start locking down some permanent names there. But yeah, any time he gets the ball, he's just so exciting to watch. He's got that out and out speed plus an elite skill set. He's so good in the air as well. So yeah, I had Will Jordan it too.
Righty-ho, back to Steve. My number 2 was Artie Savia. I think sometimes we leave him out of conversations because he plays at a high level all the time. He's sort of a victim of his own success. He's just so good that you see him play so much at that level, you can sometimes sort of think, well, that he's just playing average. Well, he's playing average for him, but he's playing at an extremely high level for just a mere mortal rugby player. So Artie Savera at number 2 for me. Steve, number 1.
Yeah, listen, Artie Savia is always first picked, but I'm just seeing these 3 improvements from the 3 people we're talking about now, and number 1 for me is Geordie. I think he's come back. He's a different level again since he's been back. His 3 games have been brilliant. Came on the weekend and turned the game around. He's big, he's strong. He's now developed that passing game, that second man play. If he can get a 1-on-1, he's probably going to beat the guy through strength. I just think there was no bigger supporter during Super Rugby for me than I was of Tavatavanawa, and I was, just so desperate for him to get a go. But Geordie and that 12 jumper he's just locked that up. He is our number 1 go-to at 12, and probably will be for some time, hopefully.
He does look a refreshed player. It's sometimes they say a change is as good as a holiday, and it seems that a time spent overseas has done him the world of good, and he's come back fired up. So yeah, really happy with that choice. Surly?
I had Geordie too, but that's boring. So I'll go circumstantial here. I won't copy Steve. I'll go with Fabian Holland just because for his first taste of test match footy, to play every minute of all those tests, 44 of 46 tackles made, 27 line-outs won. He was a monster at ruck time, and I think he cleaned up a lot of ruck ball, in all fairness, and stopped us from conceding as many turnovers as we had in previous years. I just love his physicality, his skill set as well. Seeing a guy that big, like genuine size with a skill set like that, excites me as well. So well done to Fabian Holland. Just for his first taste of test footy, I thought he was outstanding.
Pity, number 1?
I had Fabian Holland as well. But it's pretty much the same things that Surly said. Plus, got his first taste of it, first opportunity, and hasn't looked back since.
I also went with Fabian Holland.
I'm going to change it.
There we go.
I agree. I'm sure that the plan prior to the series starting wasn't for him to play every single game, but just circumstances sort of led that way, and he stood up and he didn't look out of place. It looked like he had been in that All Black forward pack for years and years. So, oh boy, he really does look like a fantastic proposition for, well, the next decade or so. Hopefully, he just really, he stepped in there and looked like he was meant to be there right from the start. So Yeah, very, very happy around that. Right. Let's look across the ditch. And, of course, the British and Irish Lions started their big test series against the Wallabies on the weekend. And I don't know if the scoreline sort of flattered the Wallabies or if the Lions sort of took their foot off the gas a wee bit. But if you have a look at that first test, Steve, what impressed you most about the Lions, first of all?
Here we go, Steve.
Um,
Tee off, mate. Tee off. We've been waiting for this.
The Lions, they're a better team. They're a better team on paper. They're a better team on the rugby field. I think defensively, Aussie tried to attack, and the Lions, with that, rush D, just didn't allow them to do hardly anything. They tried and tried and tried, and they, really fronted up. I thought the Aussies tried to deliver a brutal game, but they just don't have the fodder. The Lions are too classy across the field, and I actually probably think that was one of their worst performances. I think this week you get out to 30, 40 points easily. I just, depending on, the Wallabies, I think they really miss Valentini. They just miss some big ball carriers, and they just can't get over the advantage line against a really good British and Irish Lions defence. For me, that's where the game was won. It was, but they didn't play well, I felt, but the Aussies tried hard to stop them and were able to do that. But the game was never really in doubt. 15-0 early, and I guess the Lions got it done, but they'll be disappointed with the performance, I feel, and they'll be better and stronger this week. I just the Aussies just don't have the fodder. Unfortunately, they just don't have the manpower.
Shirley, your overall thoughts on the game? Are you thinking along the same lines as Steve?
Yeah, pretty similar. And I thought the Aussies looked best towards the back end of the game when they started a few blokes that should have been starting. I thought some of the selections were a bit strange as well, in particular at halfback. I couldn't work that out, but maybe they've picked up from that and they will make those changes this week. But I think the Lions definitely look the better of the sides. I think this whole tour, their defense has been their best weapon, and they're still not quite 100% firing yet on attack, but when they do get it right, I've been a massive Finn Russell fan for a very long time. When he is on song, he is one of the best players in the world to watch. And yeah, I think Aussie were lucky that was the scoreline, not through a lack of effort, but just that they're overpowered. And it was cool to see a Wallabies game sold out and such a great atmosphere there as well, because, geez, Aussie rugby needs that. And it was probably the travelling Lions fans, but they make for a good atmosphere and a special occasion. But yeah, I'm 13 plus this week as well. I think the Lions will be way too good.
Pity, is it the British and Irish and New Zealand Lions with Jamison Gibson Park and James Lowe? And it is...
And the Australian Lions with Tui Pelotu scoring the first try.
And the South African Lions.
Yeah. Pity, your thoughts on that first test? They were very, very good, the Lions.
No, they were. I feel like we talked about it last week. Just their prep leading up to the first test. I've had a taste of rugby, Australian rugby, and how they can sort of counter that, because they're pretty much playing the same sort of systems over in Australia. So I just thought that they read the pictures a lot better. They just probably missed opportunities where the scoreline could have actually blown out. But Aussie obviously tried to stay in the fight, but it just wasn't good enough to get over the finish line. But yeah, I definitely feel that the British, Irish, South African, Australian, New Zealand Lions did a pretty good job.
Why did Aussie play one test heading into this? Like, it seems like they're surprised that the Lions are here. Like, they didn't know they were coming and they could only fit one game into their schedule. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I feel that they did it on purpose to try and underplay everything. Give them weak provincial teams, because those super teams were very much a second man squads. Try to underplay everything and then just fly under the radar, and then I just think that was their game plan. We'll surprise them on the night, and I don't think it really worked at all. But they didn't have a lot of options because they knew they weren't going to have the fodder.
If you look at that British and Irish Lions team, they've got that midfield combination of Huey Huey Polotu, Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones, who obviously have played quite a bit together. The forward pack, I thought the loose forward trio were very, very good. Tom Curry in particular, boy, oh boy. But they just seem so much more physical than the Wallabies. They beat them at every sort of aspect of the game. They were quicker to the loose ball. They were driving the Wallabies back at times. And I thought the Wallabies loose forward trio wasn't the worst themselves. But if you look at it, Steve, I guess where's he going to make the changes? Where's Joe Schmidt going to? Where does he look? What's in the cupboard?
I could give him 3 easy ones, and I hope they're available because there must changes. Big Will Skelton has to come in at lock to add some carry mass. They need Rob Valentini back. I mean, if he's slightly injured, you just got to play him because don't worry about next week. You got to win this one if you're trying to be serious about winning the title. And I can't believe they went at halfback the way they did. That they were. I know they don't have a 10, and they're probably not going to have a 10 for a wee while. But they've got good nines. They've got good people. I was surprised that Jake Gordon got the 9 job. I honestly I don't see what anyone sees in him. I think he's he struggles at super level a lot of the time. I really don't see I don't see that when you've got the Queensland boy doing what he's doing, and he came on and changed the game. Yeah, that's for me.
Well, Surly, sounds like you're sort of thinking along the same lines as Steve here in terms of changes that could be made to the Wallabies.
Yeah, the biggest one's at 9 for me. It made no sense. Like when you got a young 10 like Liner in the jersey, don't you surround him with the most experience and someone like McDermott who can run a game himself from the 9 jersey? It just
the combination.
Yeah, the combination, exactly. It just I couldn't work that one out. A lot of people calling for Donaldson at 10, but I don't think he's the long-term answer, so you're probably better to give Liner a crack there until Loloseo's back. But again, this is a Lions test series, so you don't exactly want to be giving people a crack, do you? I can't see a way that they don't get swept, personally.
Wow, Loloseo, obviously a huge loss for the Wallabies, and he would have made a big difference in that first test, Pity. But if you look at it, can they improve on that?
If it was me and that was my team, I'd do exactly what I do with my first 15 boys. I'll start looking up in the sky, looking around the ground, see if there's a GPS checker, to see if they know where their nuts are. You look at it, like pretty much, like you're getting out passioned, out muscled, and then you're pretty much going to your show, and then you're just backing brilliance from a couple of individuals. But when it's a team effort, you've got to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And if shit hits the fan, you've got to come up with a plan B. Clearly, they don't have a plan B. They don't have a plan C or a D. They've only got plan A. And so it's just trying to make sure that they try and figure out if they can use the GPS tracker to find it so that they can make it more contestable leading into the second test to make it a good spectacle.
Right, yeah. Hopefully they can link up to Starlink or something and find
them and find their balls.
Usually, no, I'm not.
Yeah, don't say it.
No, go, Paulie. Go, Paulie.
No, it won't make it anyway. But I guess in terms of the Wallabies, and I find it strange that we're looking at the Wallabies going, oh, gee, I hope they improve so they can make a bit of a competition out of this series. It'd be great to head into the third test with it all tied up as opposed to it being a dead rubber. And even if it was a dead rubber, I'm sure the Lions would love nothing more than to wipe them 3-0. So if you look at the Lions, do they have to change anything, Steve, from what they've done in the first test?
I just think they'll get better. They'll get more clinical. Australian Rugby Union doesn't really care of the result because the remaining matches are all sold out. So they've got what they wanted as bums on seats for the tour. It's just going to be disappointing for the spectator, I feel. But looking at the crowds, more of them are from the UK than Australia anyway. So maybe the home team is winning. Listen, they'll be more clinical, which is hard to believe. You know, they're just a better team in every position across the field. The better team is going to win, 99 times out of 100. And Aussie, I thought Aussie fought hard. I thought they tried their hardest. They tried to get over the advantage line. They ran hard. They're just not good enough. And I think the Lions could absolutely do a horrific number on them this weekend. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be up towards the 50. They'll get those little things right. They know what the Aussie will bring, and that's the spoiling tactics to try and stop them rather than to win it. And that's what the UK teams pride themselves on, is that game plan of that tough fight. And they're the bully, and I think they'll do some bullying this weekend.
Surly, the Wallabies did score a couple of late tries in the game to maybe make the scoreboard a little closer than probably the match reflected. And of course, your friend, as you labelled him, the greediest player in Super Rugby, Carlo Tizzano, dotted down again. So, look, you can call him greedy, but he scores tries, that lad.
Yeah, just start him, get him every bit of ball you can. Maybe that's the only way to play going forward. Chuck him at 10, just get him with ball in hand non-stop. But in all seriousness, like it's been touched on, if you're not winning the physical battle, it's so hard to win a game. And I think we've all been in games like that where you're just running into a brick wall for 80 minutes, getting dominated, and every so often something goes your way and you find your way to score points. But they were never in that game. So I really struggle to think of ways in which they can win, just knowing that they're not going to win the carry collision, and that goes so far in getting you a result.
We've already sort of touched on the second test already, Steve, but right, what changes do the Wallabies need to make to at least have some sort of a chance to at least, I guess, take it to, and I think you've already sort of suggested it earlier on, what do they need to do to give the Lions a bit of a scare?
I definitely at 9 for me. I definitely bring in McDermott at 9. I would pray and hope, and I'd use every bit of medical intervention to get Wilskin on the field. He's a body mass. He can play. He gets around well. He knows the UK style. And Rob Valentini needs to come back in just for his ball carrying. That's the only chance. Listen, if the Aussies can get over the advantage line, right, they're a very, 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 very good team. They just were unable to do that. So to do that, you need ball carriers, and there's two of the best Aussie have. And for me, that's about all they can do. There's not a lot of other options, unfortunately, for them. The backs could probably stay as is, and just go to that attacking mode. Like I look at Queensland when they played the Crusaders down in Christchurch for the quarterfinal. They didn't play until the last 10 minutes, and when they played, they actually played well. Just let it go. Like, have no fear. Just go out, have no fear. Play the rugby you want to play, but that all starts getting over the advantage line, and they need a couple of big bodies to do that.
Surly, what sort of game plan do you think the Wallabies need to head into the second test with it? Do you think they should give the ball a bit of air, play quite expansive, obviously get on the front foot first, or do they go into their shell a wee bit?
Yeah, it's tough because that Lions D has been unreal throughout this whole tour, really. That's been their biggest attacking weapon, is the speed, their line speed, and just bending bodies. And it's so tough when you can't get gain line. You just find yourself wondering what you're doing, and then all of a sudden 80 minutes is gone, you haven't fired any shots, and you've just been sending your forward pack into brick walls, basically, looking for ways to dent them. So yeah, if they can give the ball a little bit more air and try find some ways to get behind this Lions defence, then that would be huge. But I don't think they have the time to do it. I think before they know it, the series will be done and dusted, and they'll still be trying to come up with ways to combat it. Because like Steve said, I don't think they have the ball carriers in the forward pack to bend the gain line and then be allowed to let the ball fly. It's so hard to do that from first phase. You can't just fully razzle it up right from the start. You've got to get behind them first, and that's proving incredibly tough for them to do. And if I was a Wallabies forward, they'll be sore this week, and the thought of having to do that again, knowing that you're probably going to get the same result and you're just going to get teed off on, it's a pretty tough sell.
Pity, are there any changes the Wallabies can make to at least be competitive with this Lions team, or is it a...
I wouldn't say in the team, or maybe just like Stevie said.
McDermott?
Yeah, McDermott, definitely.
Valentini.
But if you have McDermott in there, you're going to hold the defence up, because they're going to have to start looking in. That's where the opportunities where you can actually play boys and running holes and lines like that. But not only that, they've got to actually move it a bit wider. I think the only changes that they can make is in the game plan. Because they're not going to, if they don't have the manpower to get over there or break a wall, and go for a brick wall, they might as well try and figure out with their players that they've got how they can utilise them better to allow them to play the style of footy that they want to play, which is, like Shirley said too, get over the advantage line. As soon as they get over the advantage line, they're right. So it's trying to figure out how they can do that. And I think them going into the heart of their defence is not going to freaking win them test, is it? They need to move it away a bit more, get opportunities to get a one-on-one with someone, get a weak shoulder tackle or arm tackle, try and power through that, get over the advantage line. That way that they're backpedaling more and you're on front football right from the get-go.
The up and in defense allows you the space the up and in defense gives you is wide. So that's where they got to attack. Now, whether they can do that through passing or kicking, it doesn't matter. But they're not gonna playing one-off runners off 9 or 10 is not. They don't have enough fodder to get through that brick wall. So don't even bother. The space they're giving you is either in behind them or wide, and that's the space they got their attack. They've got no other option.
Do you think they move Suali'i to like a wing and use him as a kick threat? Because at the moment they're just using him as a battering ram, and he's getting gain line, but it's pointless. He's playing like a loose forward. Do you move him to a wing and play that NRL style of crossfield kicks, get him one-on-one, try use his aerial threat? Like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the up and in, there's no other space. They defend tight, and they hope that you're going to run into them because they're going to beat you with line speed and they're going to beat you with size and power. And they don't have to change feet because they know there's someone else right on their shoulder because they're so compressed. So the space they give you is wide. And kick behind them with chasers and kick to the wingers or fullbacks wide to give you at least give yourself a chance of one-on-one to get it behind the advantage line. And if you do get it back, then you got to attack quickly off that ruck.
They did score a very, very good try, the Wallabies, in the first test. With it wasn't a cross kick, but it was a very well-placed kick, and Jorgensen getting up and basically thieving the ball off the lines and then making his way to the try line. So it can be done, but we'll have to wait and see, first of all, to see what team Joe Schmidt names to take on the Lions in the second test, and then what sort of game plan they head into that test match with. Whatever happens, I'm sure it'll be fascinating. Can't wait for it this Saturday night. Right. There's going to be an estimated 100,000 fans at the MCG this weekend to watch this test match. And as Steve said, I think the bulk of them will probably be wearing red jerseys. But a question for you guys, what's the biggest crowd that you've ever played in front of? And what was the most intimidating stadium that you've played in? We'll start with you, Steve.
Well, I'm gonna make it stand on this, and I'm gonna say that the most intimidating stadiums are the ones that are rugby fields, not cricket pitches or athletic tracks. Stade de France is a massive, massive stadium, but it's got an athletics track around the outside, and I sort of feel everyone gets a little bit lost in how far away from the action they are. So let's go to the sheer rugby soccer pitch grounds where I played at Millennium with a roof on, full. That was about 80,000, I think, from memory, and that was an experience. I mean, any stadium in Africa, they're literally it's like playing in a courtyard of some apartments. They are literally straight up, and it's tough. The crowd noise, it's tough to deal with. Twickenham now is an amazing stadium. It's massive. Um, yeah, the new one in Ireland. I haven't played there, but I imagine that'd be a pretty special experience with a house full of Irishmen having a few Guinnesses before and after. So yeah, what's important? The most important thing, if you want to build an intimidating stadium, you've got to be on top of the field. And I please, New Zealand, let's get this right and let's do it properly in this country, please, please, please. Let's get rid of cricket and let's play rugby league, rugby union, and soccer on a field to suit those games. Rant
Right.
over.
There we go. Pity, you?
I'm pretty much similar to Stevie. Like, played my first test at the Millennium. That was pretty epic. I mean, with the roof, first time under a roof, being a young fella, you're just like, holy shit. And then the atmosphere, they're singing, they're chanting, and we're not used to that here. You know, you get that all over in the UK and all that, where they're chanting, they're singing, and making a pretty cool environment. Probably the most hostile one would be Newlands Park, because they're pretty much they're sitting right behind you, and they're just giving it to you, telling you to pass off back home,
Giving you some friendly advice?
Honestly, I'm thinking to myself, what have I signed up for? I'm not too sure if I want to play professional rugby anymore. And
You can smell the beer and the hot dogs on their breath. They're that close.
it's so good. You're like, hey, you want a drink? I said, I'd love one right now, but I can't. Start Francais was definitely another big one, and Tookers. Although there is a bit of space in between the field and the sideline, I just feel like probably the best one would be Newlands, just because it's everyone was close to the pitch, and like you could literally turn around and shake the hand of the
the crowd behind you.
Pretty much. It's not being used at all, and it's overgrown and everything because of the new stadium that they've got there. But man, what a stadium that was.
I had a few games there, and Fitzy was our manager, and he. So everyone in Africa, everywhere you go with Fitzy, they just love to hate him. So I reckon 1,000 times a match you would just hear and this big giant African and stand up and just scream, Fitzpatrick, I want to scrum you. And everywhere you went, that's all you heard. Everyone in the field, 50, 60,000 people just wanted to scrum Fitzy, which was awesome because it took a lot of attention away from us and it made us feel a bit safer. But you could go walking through a supermarket and someone would just poke their head out of a shop and just go, Fitzpatrick, I want to scrum you.
I will say the best place to play it though would be in Durban at Sharks.
Oh,
Because
the barbecue after.
Yeah, it's so good. Like,
where you mean outside
they do the tailgating, and like you just go and experience what they do. It's so good. They offer you a feed if you're hungry, or beer,
and marriage.
Oh,
Yeah, I had a couple of fathers try to give their daughters away on multiple occasions.
But we've done it with the ABs too. Not just Super ABs. We've gone out into the
after the game.
After the game, and it's awesome. Awesome atmosphere.
So they call it a braai.
Yes.
Yeah.
A braai.
Braai.
It's probably the highlight of my rugby career. Those trips to Durban and going out afterwards and having beers and they just cook meat and you have meat and beers and just talk to the locals. So it was so fun.
Yeah.
Anyone
Let's bring it.
No, yeah, probably the wives. But meanwhile, the men is just get a bit of bread and chuck the old meat in that, and you're good to go.
So what you're saying is, when you're on the field with the black jersey on, they absolutely hate your guts. But after the game is finished, come and have a beer, come and have something to eat.
And scrum. I just want to scrum, mate.
Surly, the biggest crowd you've played in front of?
Oh, mate, nothing compared to these blokes. Although we did do a high school tour of South Africa and we went to Newlands to watch the Crusaders play the Stormers. That was elite. Went to Shark Park. We were billeted. It was unreal. That was probably the best rugby tour I've ever been on. But we played Grey College over there. There was like 4,000 or 5,000 students. They had the full band. They were singing the work. So that was a pretty cool experience. That's probably the best atmosphere I've been amongst, but been lucky enough to go to Stade Francais for World Cup quarterfinals, Suncorp Stadium for some big league games, things like that. There's some sick venues going around, but like Steve said, the closer you are to the action, the better the atmosphere. So yeah, I don't know how the MCG is going to go this weekend because you're about 5Ks away from the game, aren't you?
Yeah, it's yeah. But I mean, you put 100,000 people anywhere, and she's going to be a good time. But you do lose a lot being so far away.
Righty-ho.
Have you
Down.
had any good ones? The big stadiums that you've been to?
Yeah.
Moonee Valley.
Flemington. I played at Athletic Park club footy, but yeah, I think there were about 20 people in the stand. Fair income.
How was that? Was it a wet, windy day?
Yeah, it was. It was blowing. What was it? It was a northerly. So yeah, blow straight down. We had the wind in the first half, I think, and turned around and oh geez, no, there's some things you don't want to do. It's play into the wind in Wellington. So
my first game in Wellington was at Athletic Park, and I had no idea what I was about to experience. And then it was a horrible day, and I didn't even know wind could get that high. And then after the, I think it was the last game ever at Eden Park, last rugby match, because it was MPC, and I think they knocked it down. And oh my God, you couldn't even have a warm shower afterwards. It was just those change room. It was the absolute pits. I had no idea that this was even possible to have something so poor standing and make people pay to sit in it even.
You if you played on a really cold day, you wanted to get taken off with about 5 minutes to go. So you go straight in, get the hot water in the showers, and you're all good because it didn't last the whole.
What was the bloody
Millard stand?
Millard stand.
Yeah, in a strong southerly, the stand would sort of sway like that with the wind, and yeah, I've been up the top of there when there's been a big southerly, and it did. It moved. It went go like this. So, yeah.
Thank God for the tinny house.
Yeah, we're in the tinny house now. We've moved up in the world. Right.
Have you?
Well, the showers are hot all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, serious part of the podcast now, and it's not good reading, to be fair. Last week, where were we?
Don't do mine. Mine was embarrassing. I tried to hedge my bets, and it still didn't work.
Yeah. Fetty, you had Toki Aho to score a try. No. Then you had Argentina to win, Spain to win, and the Lions to win. No, okay, that's minus 100 for last week, which means you're down minus.
Yeah. We'll just move on to the next one.
Surly, Ben the Hedge Searle. Here we go. He had 3 bets. All Blacks to win by 11 to 20. All Blacks to win by 21 to 30. And then he had a little double. All Blacks to win by 11 to 20 and the Lions to win by 1 to 12. So what there? No good. And me as well. I had the 2 starting wingers for the All Blacks to score a try. Well. And then I had the fullback and the halfback to both score a try. Well. So, no success whatsoever for anybody. I don't know where we go from here. I'll tell you where we go. We go to Steve Devine to get us back on the right track. Where are you going this week without the teams being named, the Lions or the Wallabies? Or are you looking further afield to another international somewhere?
I don't think there's I had a bit of a look. I don't think there's too many others on this weekend. I think there's one game of rugby. So I'm going $80 on the Lions to win 13 plus.
That is paying $2 at the moment.
Yep.
Yep. And then the other $20 I'm going to have on Jones at centre for the Lions to score a try. For me, I think he's probably been my favourite player on their tour. I think he's got great feet. He reads the game so well, runs brilliant lines. So Jones at centre to score a try, whatever that will be. If his name probably will be, because he's in pretty good form, and that's my $100.
Hugh Jones, nice. Okay, Surly.
I am scrambling here. I almost did an NPC future, but I thought that would probably ruin it for next week because I assume we'll be talking some
We'll be
NPC
talking
footy.
NPC next week.
Tell you what, Bay are plenty at $10 with that squad they name. There's some stacked teams, Tasman and the likes, but Bay are plenty at 10s look pretty good. I'll just chuck the whole 100 on the Lions 13 plus. It's pretty boring, $2, but let's not get carried away. The only games are that and then that Lions game tonight, First Nations and Pacifica 15 against the Lions. So that'll be a cricket score, but there's no value in that. So all handy, Lions 13 plus. Watch them win 1-12 and break my heart.
Pity Weepu.
I'm going to go with
Here we go.
First Nations to score.
I thought you were going to back them in. There's no way.
They're $18 to win the game.
No, I want them to score the first points.
First team to score. How about first team to score? First Nations and Pacifica 15. $3.50 first team to score.
Yeah, I'll take that. 50 on that.
50 on that.
And then I'll put...
It's clearly not your money, eh?
Hopefully they get a penalty out the front straight away.
and then British and Irish Lions, half-time, full-time. Not even paying much, but...
What is it paying?
$1.45, I think.
Oh, boy.
Put the rest on that.
It's bloody tough, isn't it?
It is.
Without, first of all, without having the teams named, because I wouldn't have mind having a couple of try-scoring bets here, but I'll stay away from that. Gee, I'm tempted to go with what Surly's gone, but oh no, not the whole 100 on the Lions, 13 and over at $2.
Do 11 to 20, Paulie. It's a great bet.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, no, I am. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go the British and Irish Lions to win by 11 to 20, $50 on at $3.20, and the British and Irish Lions to win by 21 to 30 at $5, $50 on that. There we go. Boom, done. Righty ho. That's it for another week on the Pick and Go. Steve, you heading out fishing anytime soon?
I'm thinking about if the weather allows, which is right on the cusp right now, head down to Waihao Bay and have a crack for a bluefin. So we're just waiting to see how that weather unravels towards the end of the week. So fingers crossed for some bluefin.
Beautiful. Surly, I guess you're not heading out fishing this weekend?
Nah, more of a land-based animal myself, so
Right.
I won't be heading out fishing. I will be heading to Mount Smart, though, to watch the rival Code Warriors put on a clinic against the Titans. I'm actually doing the halftime entertainment. They've asked me to put up some spiral bombs for people to try catch them. They're going to turn the lights off. So, yeah, that could be the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. I take that back. Mount Smart Stadium, 24,000. Hopefully I don't shank a couple. That would be so embarrassing, but we'll see.
You're
Are you going to go for the floater?
Oh, I'm gonna try pull out the full arsenal, and it could end up horribly wrong. They could end up in the stands. We'll see.
You're going to go to the Titans changing shed just in case there's a spray at
Yeah, I tell you what, they won't be jumping in the shower straight after the game this week, will they? Des almost went in there and hand plucked them out, but it's meant to be me and Sean Johnson taking each other on in a bomb comp with people trying to catch them. So, yeah, don't like my odds there, but I'll give it a
I
crack.
know who my money's going on. I want to change
Thanks,
my bet.
Paulie.
My money's now on SJ.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
That's why your team lost in the final up there.
Who? Oh, you're talking about Surly.
Yours.
No, yours. Takapuna, mate. Outclassed.
Hey, come on, guys. What are you up to, bro? Kid sports?
Yeah, just rugby, netball, and more rugby. Pretty much our last round for college sport here in Wellington before we get into playoffs, semis and finals. So got the opportunity to.
Are you going to be in the semis?
Yes, I think we've qualified.
Okay.
We've one round to go, but it just depends on the result this weekend. If we win, we get to host at home. If we lose, then there's something wrong with the coacher. coaching staff.
Beautiful. All righty.
What about you? Any golf? Any harness racing? Or are you going to Auckland as well?
No. I'll be around here. No golf planned at the moment. Heading to Moo's 40th. Happy birthday, Moo. This Saturday night at the, I want to say where it is, might get like that Project X, might be 100,000 people turn up. But I am looking forward to the second test between the British and Irish Lions and the Wallabies. Hopefully, it's a bit of a competition. Right. Thank you to Steve Devine. Thank you to Ben Searle. Thank you to Pity Weepu. And thank you to you guys for tuning in and listening. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Pick and Go.